Hi, good day everyone. Welcome to my session. My name is Wee Chun. Today I'll be talking to you about using Pear Deck to engage university students in the virtual classroom. First, I will provide the background of the study and talk about student engagement online. Then, I will introduce Pear Deck, a tech tool that I incorporated in my online instruction. Finally, I will present findings from a survey on students' experiences using Pear Deck to learn academic writing at a Malaysian university. I hope you will find this sharing session useful. This paper is inspired by my own classroom practice of teaching academic writing online during the global pandemic lockdown. I believe all of us are aware of the impact the COVID-19 pandemic on education and might be affected by it. Many learning institutions were closed and teachers were forced to adopt the emergency remote teaching method or home-based teaching and learning PDPR in Malaysia to maintain the learning continuity, mainly through the synchronous online teaching mode, where teachers and learners are meeting in real time for online class using a video conferencing tool such as Zoom. When I first started teaching remotely, I often found myself sitting in front of the computer, facing the wall of black boxes on Zoom, teaching academic writing and talking to myself. It was difficult to reach students, especially the quiet and disengaged ones, via the screen. I couldn't hear any voice from my students when their mics were muted, and they were nowhere to be sighted when the webcams were off. I had no idea if my students were even listening to me. Some of you might have resonance. I knew that my students might be shy to speak up, but I was not sure how to encourage active participation in class as they seemed to be unresponsive. I'm mindful that this was their first time having online class, and I knew that the level of student engagement varies, and yet high student engagement contributes to successful learning. I had no idea what to do until I discovered Pear Deck. Pear Deck is an interactive presentation tool. This web-based application was developed in 2014 in Iowa, the United States, with an aim to support administrators and teachers to engage students in an active learning environment. By incorporating Pear Deck, it allows teachers to transform boring teaching slides into a fun and engaging presentation, at the same time encouraging interaction and participation from students. Students are able to type text, enter numbers, choose from multiple choices, and draw responses. The interactive features of Pear Deck promotes active learning. Besides that, Pear Deck could be used to facilitate synchronous and asynchronous remote lessons, and it can be paired with a video conferencing tool such as Zoom or Google Meet, and with Google Slides, making it highly accessible for online instruction. Pear Deck was not designed for higher education learners in mind, and therefore the application of Pear Deck in higher education merits research. In this study, I aim to find out how university students perceive the use of Pear Deck in the virtual writing classroom, and to explore the extent to which Pear Deck affects virtual class dynamics, engagements, and learning. Before I carry out the study, I needed to design the writing lessons with Pear Deck. I paired Pear Deck with Google Slides and incorporated some of the Pear Deck interactive features. I covered various academic topics such as brainstorming, writing different types of sentences, and unity and coherence. Each Pear Deck session lasted for 1 to 2 hours. At the start of the class, I briefed students on how to use Pear Deck. Students were given a join code to access Pear Deck, and they may use a second device such as a tablet or iPad for input. Here's an example of a slide with student input. As you can see, the student wrote her paraphrase on the deck, and I was able to see her sentence instantly and provided feedback. Here's another example in which the student was planning and wrote an outline. As you can see, the student could draw and type their responses in a creative way during class. To find out if the Pear Deck enhanced lessons were well received by the students, I distributed an online survey to students who took part in all the Pear Deck sessions. I received 54 responses out of 75, and the survey data were analyzed inductively and 3 themes were identified. Here I present the findings of the survey. 96% of the students indicated that they had a positive experience using Pear Deck in class. They perceived Pear Deck to be fun and interesting, and some even commented that Pear Deck helped to build their confidence. This suggests the potential of using Pear Deck in improving language learning in a fun learning environment. Moving on, all the students reported that Pear Deck positively impacted engagement in the virtual classroom. They valued the interaction with the teacher, with their peers, and even with the learning materials. They appreciated the anonymity features on Pear Deck. Even when they make mistakes, their peers were not able to identify them. This allows the students to be able to express themselves freely and do not have to feel embarrassed or fear of making mistakes. It helps language learners to lower their affective filter and thus promoting successful language learning, in this case, academic writing. Lastly, all the students stated that Pear Deck was a useful learning tool and have a positive influence on their learning experience. They were able to learn various topics of academic writing better by involving in the learning process. And they could even have the opportunity to get feedback on their responses and have further discussion with the teacher. With Pear Deck, the students were able to receive a copy of the teaching slides with their input for revision. This points to the fact that student learning can be optimized with instant formative feedback, which will not likely be possible in the traditional PowerPoint and talk session, as well as learning beyond the classroom. The findings show that Pear Deck is indeed well received by the university students. Pear Deck changes the virtual classroom dynamics from a passive to an active learning environment. This is supported by a previous study by Mache et al. 2017. Besides that, a tech tool like Pear Deck is able to encourage students to have behavioral, cognitive, and emotional engagement. With the real-time interaction and feedback sessions offered by Pear Deck, language teachers will be able to engage their students more actively and facilitate their language learning more easily. Therefore, I encourage language teachers to try out Pear Deck in their virtual classroom, since remote teaching and learning is the new norm and here to stay. Feel free to scan the QR code to get access to the Pear Deck resources. You will find out how Pear Deck works and how to design your own Pear Deck session. I have also included a copy of my teaching slides with Pear Deck interactive features for your reference. I hope you find my sharing useful. Here are my references of the study. With that, I end my presentation. Thank you for listening.